Mel Gibson was once one of Hollywood's brightest stars. From Mad Max to Braveheart, he built a career that most actors could only dream of. He had fame, fortune, and the respect of millions. But behind the spotlight, his life was filled with struggles. Controversies, scandals, and shocking behavior turned Hollywood against him. Friends disappeared, studios shut their doors, and his career fell apart almost overnight. At 69, Gibson's life today looks nothing like the glory days that made him a household name. Join us as we take a closer look at his journey from the start and where it's led him now. Early life and family roots. Mel Gerard Gibson was born in Peekskill, New York on January 3, 1956. He came from a big family, being the sixth of 11 children. His father Hutton Gibson was a writer and his mother and Patricia Riley came from Ireland. Sadly, she passed away in 1990. On his father's side, Mel had some very interesting family connections. His grandmother, Eva Mylott, was an opera singer who had been born in Australia to Irish parents. His grandfather, John Hutton Gibson, was a wealthy tobacco businessman from the southern United States. With such a mix of backgrounds, Mel grew up with both Irish and American heritage running strong in his life. Even his name carried meaning. His first name came from St. Mel's Cathedral, located in his mother's hometown of Longford, Ireland. His second name, Colmcille, was also linked to an Irish saint, showing how deeply his family held on to their Irish roots. Mel was not the only one to go into acting. One of his younger brothers, Donald, also became an actor. But for Mel, his path to Hollywood stardom started in unexpected ways. In 1968, when Mel was only 12 years old, his father received a large payout from a work-related injury lawsuit against the New York Central Railroad. He was awarded $145,000, which would be worth over $1 million today. Soon after, the family made a major move. They left New York and moved to West Pymble, a suburb in Sydney, Australia. This move was partly about money, but also about avoiding the draft during the Vietnam War. Since Mel's eldest brother was nearing that age, the shift to Australia would change Mel's life forever. He entered St. Leo's Catholic College in Wahroonga, where he was taught by the Congregation of Christian Brothers. From a young boy in New York to a student in Sydney, Mel's world had turned upside down. Yet, these years gave him the foundation that prepared him for what came next. And what came next would put him on a stage much bigger than anyone expected. Stepping into acting in Australia, Mel's life began to take shape. He studied at the National Institute of Dramatic Art in Sydney, a place known for shaping many talented actors. While still a student, he took part in stage productions that showed his range early on. He performed as Romeo opposite actress Judy Davis in Romeo and Juliet. In another experimental play, he even played the role of Queen Titania in A Midsummer Night's Dream. These performances gave him the training that later set him apart on screen. In 1977, the same year he graduated, Mel got his first chance in film. He acted in Summer City and was paid $400 for it. Shortly after, he was cast as the lead in Mad Max in 1979. For this role, he was paid $9,000. At the time, he was living simply, sharing a $30 a week apartment in Adelaide with his future wife, Robin Moore. Around the same time, he also appeared in another movie called Tim, where he played a mentally disabled youth. Beyond films, he appeared in several Australian TV shows like The Sullivans, Cop Shop, and even a pilot episode of Punishment. His career slowly began to build, but everything changed when director Peter Weir cast him in Gallipoli in 1981. This World War I drama earned Mel a Best Actor award from the Australian Film Institute and made him a serious actor in the eyes of critics. Soon after, Mad Max 2, released in America as The Road Warrior, turned him into an international star. And that was just the beginning. Hollywood soon came calling, and Mel was about to step onto the world stage. But along with success came expectations, and the pressure of being a rising star was only starting to show. Global stardom. As Mel's star grew, so did the roles. In 1982, Vincent Canby of the New York Times compared him to a young Steve McQueen, saying he had that special star quality. Others likened him to a mix of Clark Gable and Humphrey Bogart. With his performances in the Mad Max films, Gallipoli, and later the Lethal Weapon series, Mel earned the title of action hero. But he was not content to stay in one box. He took on dramatic roles like Hamlet in 1990, played comedy in Maverick, 1994, and charmed audiences in What Women Want, 2000. By the late 1990s, he had become one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. He was even paid a record-breaking $25 million for his role in The Patriot in 2000. His movies like Chicken Run, Signs, and We Were Soldiers also made hundreds of millions at the box office. Along the way, people like Sean Connery suggested that Mel should take over the James Bond role, though he turned it down out of fear of being typecast. But Mel was not only an actor. He stepped into directing and producing, making films like The Man Without a Face, 1993, and the Oscar-winning Braveheart, 1995. Later he directed The Passion of the Christ, 2004, and Apocalypto, 2006, both of which drew worldwide attention. With such power in Hollywood, Mel had control over the stories he wanted to tell. He even founded Icon Productions with partner Bruce Davey, creating not only films, but also a distribution company. Yet, while his career reached its highest peaks, his personal life and public image began to crack. The same fame that lifted him up would soon pull him down. Controversy and career struggles. By the early 2000s, things began to change for Mel Gibson. His popularity started to fall after he made controversial statements that shocked both Hollywood and the public. While promoting the movie Signs, he even admitted that he no longer wanted to be a movie star unless the script was truly extraordinary. In 2010, his personal troubles made headlines around the world. An angry outburst directed at his ex-girlfriend became public, and the fallout was immediate. William Morris Endeavor, his talent agency, dropped him. He was supposed to appear in The Hangover Part 2, but the cast and crew pushed back and he was removed from the project. Hollywood, which once embraced him, now seemed to shut its doors. Still, he continued to act in different kinds of roles. He played villains in Machete Kills, 2013, and The Expendables 3, 2014. In 2018, he starred in Dragged Across Concrete, a film centered on police brutality. He also appeared in The Professor and the Madman, although he and the director later distanced themselves from the project. Despite all this, he remained active behind the scenes. His company, Icon Productions, produced several projects, including a documentary for PBS. In 2023, he was credited as an executive producer of Sound of Freedom, a film dealing with the trafficking of children. From blockbuster hits to public scandals, Mel's journey showed the highs and lows of a life lived in the spotlight. At times, he was praised as one of the greatest stars of his generation. At other times, he stood alone, facing the consequences of his own actions. The story of Mel Gibson is not a simple one. It is filled with success, heartbreak, and a complicated legacy that still sparks debate today. The path to directing. Mel Gibson didn't start out wanting to be a director. In fact, in 1989, studio executives pushed him to give it a try, but he turned it down. Still, the idea stayed with him, and in 1993, he finally took the step. His first movie as a director was The Man Without a Face. Only 2 years later, he shocked Hollywood by directing Braveheart, which won him the Academy Award for Best Director. From that point, Gibson was no longer just an actor. He was also a filmmaker with a strong vision. 4 years, he had planned to make a remake of Fahrenheit 451, but the project was stopped in 1999 because of scheduling issues. Around the same time, he was set to direct Robert Downey Jr. in a stage production of Hamlet. But Downey's relapse ended the project before it began. Even with these setbacks, Gibson never let go of his love for directing. By 2002, while promoting his movies, We Were Soldiers and Signs, he openly said he wanted to act less and focus more on directing. In September of that year, he announced one of the boldest projects of his career. He would direct a film called The Passion in Aramaic and Latin, and at first he wanted no subtitles. Gibson explained that he hoped to go beyond language barriers with filmic storytelling. In 2004, The Passion of the Christ was released. This controversial movie went on to become the highest-grossing R-rated film at the time, making over $370 million in the U.S. alone. 2 years later, he returned with another daring project, Apocalypto, which was also filmed in a non-English language. After that, he kept directing with titles like Hacksaw Ridge in 2016 and Flight Risk in 2025. His vision often stood out, and he wanted to create movies that felt different from the Hollywood norm. At one point, Gibson even planned a Viking Age film called Berserker with Leonardo DiCaprio, but the actor eventually dropped out. Still, Gibson insisted the project would move forward. But not all of his directing work avoided trouble. In 2011, he began developing a film about the Maccabees with writer Joe Eszterhas. Soon after, Eszterhas accused Gibson of sabotaging the movie, even claiming he expressed hateful views in private. Their fight became public when Eszterhas's letter about Gibson was published online. Gibson denied the claims, saying the script was weak and promising to make the film without it. Eszterhas said his son had recorded Gibson's rants. Despite the drama, Gibson said the project was still alive. And even with all this, he never stopped searching for stories to bring to the screen. You see, Mel Gibson has built a career that stretched across 5 decades, starring in hits like Lethal Weapon and What Women Want, and directing award-winning films like Braveheart and The Passion of the Christ. But his personal life tells a very different story. The DUI that changed everything. The turning point came on July 28, 2006. In the early morning hours, Gibson was pulled over on the Pacific Coast Highway. He had been driving 87 miles per hour in a 45 zone. His blood alcohol level was measured at .12, well over the legal limit in California. At first, it might have seemed like just another celebrity DUI case. Hollywood had seen many stars arrested for drunk driving before. But what made Gibson's arrest stand out were the words he said that night. According to reports, he went on a rant against Jewish people, shouting, "F Jews. The Jews are responsible for all the wars in the world. Are you a Jew?" He even tried to run away from the officer before being taken to the station, where the rest of the incident was recorded and made public. The fallout was immediate. The man once praised for his talent was now condemned for his words. Years later, in a 2016 interview with Variety, Gibson tried to defend himself by saying, "I was loaded and angry and arrested. I was recorded illegally by an unscrupulous police officer, and then it was made public by him for profit. So, not fair." His apology could not erase the damage. The world had seen the outburst, and his career would never be the same. And sadly, this was not the last time Gibson would face accusations of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitic remarks that wouldn't go away. The 2006 arrest opened the door for people to speak about other troubling moments. In a 2010 interview with GQ, actress Winona Ryder recalled a party where a drunk Gibson approached her. She said he asked, "You're not an oven dodger, are you?" A reference to the ovens used during the Holocaust. The remark shocked her, and when the story became public, it added fuel to an already burning fire. More stories followed. Reports surfaced that Gibson had made comments casting doubt on the number of Jewish people killed in the Holocaust. In an interview with Reader's Digest, he was quoted as saying, "I mean, when the war was over, they said it was 12 million. Then it was 6. Now it's 4. I mean, it's that kind of numbers game." The words painted a picture of someone dismissing historical tragedy. Then came the very public fight with screenwriter Joe Eszterhas. The two had been working on a film called The Maccabees about a Jewish revolt against the Romans. But Eszterhas later accused Gibson of sabotaging the project because of hate. In a letter, Eszterhas wrote, "I've come to the conclusion that the reason you won't make The Maccabees is the ugliest possible one. You hate Jews." He continually called Jews Hebes, and oven dodgers, and Jew boys. He even claimed that Gibson constantly asked if certain people were Jewish whenever they were mentioned. Gibson denied the accusations and said Eszterhas's script was not good enough. But the words in the letter stuck. Whether true or not, the perception of Gibson's views continued to shadow him. And as the storm of anti-Semitic accusations swirled, another scandal soon exploded, this time involving his personal relationships. The turbulent relationship with Oksana Grigorieva. In 2009, Gibson went public with his relationship with Russian songwriter Oksana Grigorieva. It came around the same time he separated from his longtime wife Robin Moore. With Oksana, Gibson welcomed a daughter, Lucia, born on October 31, 2009.